All right, so get this.
Okay.
You guys sent in a ton of stuff on Polybius.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, even I was getting chills reading some of these accounts.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
1980s,
Right.
golden age of arcades, and bam!
Right.
This mysterious game just pops up in Portland, Oregon. Some are saying it was a government experiment.
Interesting.
Others are saying it was an elaborate hoax.
Oh, wow.
But the one thing everyone seems to agree on is that it was weird.
Yeah.
Seriously weird.
I bet.
So today, we're gonna dive deep into all those crazy claims and those whispers.
Okay.
And we're gonna try to figure out just what made Polybius tick.
You know what strikes me right away?
What's that?
Polybius shows up when arcade games were all about pure pixelated fun.
Yeah.
It's almost ironic that this one game, supposedly so simple, was anything but.
Right.
It's like it had this unsettling aura right from the start.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's that contrast, right? This like basic space shooter
Mhm.
causing some seriously bizarre side effects.
I mean, we all know eye strain and sore thumbs come with the territory,
Right.
but Polybius was in a whole other league.
Exactly.
We're talking intense headaches, dizziness,
Oh, wow.
even reports of full-blown hallucinations.
What?
And the one that really gets me,
Yeah.
temporary amnesia,
No way.
that's not just your average arcade glitch anymore.
Wait, amnesia?
Yeah.
Okay, that takes things to a whole other level. I mean, you gotta wonder what could have possibly been going on with this game.
Yeah.
Did someone slip something in the Mountain Dew or something?
Well, that's where those whispers of government involvement come in.
Okay.
We've got stories of men in black hanging around arcades,
Really?
supposedly collecting data from the game. Then there are those rumors about subliminal messages hidden in the gameplay.
Oh, gosh.
And some even speculate about mind control experiments.
Whoa.
It's like a conspiracy theorist's dream come true.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like, imagine being a kid back then hearing these stories. It's like the perfect recipe for an urban legend that just won't die.
Like how?
But here's the thing.
What's that?
For all the talk and all the wild theories,
Mm-hmm.
there's no solid proof Polybius even existed.
Really?
No design documents, no recovered cabinets.
Wow.
No one has stepped forward with the actual game code.
Mm.
It's like trying to catch smoke.
It is.
Yeah.
And that's what makes the whole thing so fascinating. You've got this void of evidence, yet the story persists. And not just persists, it thrives.
Yeah.
I think it speaks to that primal part of us that loves a good mystery,
Yeah.
especially one tied to technology, which
Yeah.
face it can feel like magic sometimes.
Totally. It's
Right.
like Polybius tapped into this fear we have, this
Yeah.
idea that tech could be used to manipulate us without us even knowing.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what else I find interesting?
What's that?
It's not just fear.
Okay.
There's this layer of nostalgia, too,
Uh.
especially for those who grew up in the arcade era.
Yeah. Arcades back then were these social hubs,
Yeah.
buzzing with energy.
Yeah.
Polybius, even with all the creepiness, becomes this symbol of a time when things felt simpler,
Okay.
more mysterious.
Right.
It's like we're yearning for that thrill of the unknown
Yeah.
that we've lost touch with in our hyper-connected world.
So we've got no proof,
Yeah.
but a story so potent, it's practically woven into our cultural DNA.
Wow.
What I'm dying to know is why.
Yeah.
What are the leading theories that try to explain this whole Polybius phenomenon?
Well, one theory is that it was all an elaborate hoax,
Oh,
maybe cooked up by some pranksters looking to shake up the arcade scene.
interesting.
It was a time when urban legends spread like wildfire,
Yeah,
so it wouldn't be too far-fetched.
that makes sense.
Yeah,
But what about the people who swear they played it?
right.
Were they all in on the joke?
That's where things get even murkier.
Okay.
Some researchers think we might be dealing with a sort of collective delusion,
Like what?
like the Mandela effect,
Uh-huh.
where a bunch of people share a false memory, maybe triggered by a similar event or piece of media.
Okay.
It's possible that rumors, hype, and that desire for something extraordinary
Right.
created this shared false memory of the game.
A hoax or a mass delusion.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other possibilities?
Mm.
Did anyone even try to find this thing?
They did.
Really?
And that's part of what makes the Polybius story so unique.
How so?
We're not talking about a blurry photo or a third-hand account.
Okay.
People have actively searched for remnants of the game.
Wow.
They've combed through old arcade records, tried to track down potential developers, even looked for any trace of the hardware itself. It's like this phantom game that managed to slip through the cracks of history.
So it's not just that we lack evidence.
Right.
It's that the evidence we would expect, the things that would normally leave a trail, are also missing. It's almost like the mystery was intentionally designed to be unsolvable.
And that brings us back to those government conspiracy theories. If there was some sort of top-secret experiment, well, they'd certainly have the means to cover their tracks pretty effectively.
Okay, so we've got a missing game, bizarre side effects, and maybe even shadowy government agents. Where do we go from here?
Well, we need to look at the specifics of those side effects.
Okay.
Because, and here's where it gets really interesting.
Right.
Those reported symptoms weren't random.
Oh.
They played directly into some of the deepest fears of the time. Think about it. This is the 80s, peak Cold War paranoia. People were already on edge about government surveillance, propaganda, even mind control.
Right.
Then Polybius pops up.
Okay.
And the reported side effects aren't just headaches. They're targeted headaches.
What?
The kind that would make you think something's messing with your brain.
Whoa. You're right.
Yeah.
It's like the symptoms themselves fed the conspiracy. It's not just that people felt sick. It's that they felt sick in a way that confirmed their deepest fears.
Exactly.
Wow.
And then there's the amnesia. That's not just a physical ailment.
Okay.
It taps into this fear of losing control, of having your memories, your identity stolen from you.
Right.
In the context of Cold War anxieties.
Yeah.
It's the perfect fuel for an urban legend.
It's like Polybius became this focal point for all those anxieties.
Yeah.
Sort of digital boogeyman. And you mentioned earlier that people were looking for specific evidence.
Right.
Did those searches ever turn up anything?
Well, that could explain those side effects, like maybe something in the hardware itself. Well, that's where the technical side of this gets really interesting.
Okay.
Because even though we haven't found the actual Polybius hardware,
Right.
researchers have looked into the kind of tech that could have caused those symptoms, at least in theory.
Ooh. Okay. Tell me more about that.
Yeah.
I'm picturing some crazy combination of flashing lights and subliminal messages.
You're not far off.
Oh.
There are theories about specific frequencies of light or sound
Oh, wow.
that could induce those kinds of effects. Maybe even some cleverly designed visual tricks.
Interesting.
Now, a lot of this has been debunked, of course.
Right.
But the fact that people were even exploring these possibilities shows just how deeply this legend has taken root.
It's like people were so convinced that something had to be going on, they were willing to entertain even the wildest explanations.
Right.
But even if there's no concrete evidence of the game itself, the cultural impact of Polybius is undeniable.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's been referenced in movies, TV shows, other video games.
Really?
You see it pop up in everything from The Simpsons to Stranger Things.
Oh, wow.
And it's almost never portrayed as just a harmless arcade game.
Right.
It's always got this dark, sinister edge to it.
It's like it became shorthand for this idea of a hidden, dangerous side of technology, a cautionary tale about what happens when we let our guard down.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And what's fascinating is that this cautionary tale has evolved along with our anxieties about technology.
It's interesting.
In the 80s, it was about Cold War fears government control. But today, we see those same themes playing out in different ways.
Like what?
Like with data privacy concerns.
Oh, okay.
The idea that our information is being collected and used against us.
Yeah, and social media manipulation.
Precisely.
The spread of misinformation, the way we're constantly bombarded with stimuli designed to capture our attention. Polybius, in a way, predicted all of this.
I know, right?
It's like a digital Rorschach test, reflecting our evolving anxieties about the world around us.
It really is.
So even if the game itself is a myth,
Right.
the anxieties it represents are very real.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why it's stuck around for so long, because it speaks to something deep within us.
I think so.
But hold on.
Yeah. If the core of the story is adaptable, does that mean the details of the legend have changed over time too?
That's a good question.
Like, do people tell the story differently now than they did back in the 80s?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it brings us to one of the most intriguing aspects of this whole phenomenon.
What's that?
the way the legend itself has mutated and spread.
Okay.
Because while the core themes of government conspiracy and technological manipulation have remained consistent,
Right.
the specific details of the story have been embellished, reinterpreted, and even contradicted over time.
So it's not just a static story.
Nope.
It's like a living, breathing entity, changing and adapting as it gets passed from person to person, from generation to generation.
Exactly.
It's almost like a game of telephone.
Yeah.
Where the original message gets distorted and transformed along the way.
Exactly.
And that's what makes tracking down the real story of Polybius so difficult, if there even is one. Right.
Because with each retelling, with each new piece of fan fiction or internet forum post, the line between fact and fiction becomes increasingly blurred. It's like we're all contributing to this massive collaborative storytelling project, weaving our own fears and fascinations into the fabric of the legend.
Yeah.
But in a way, isn't that part of what makes it so compelling?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because it's not just a story we passively consume.
Okay.
It's one we actively participate in.
Right.
It invites us to fill in the gaps, to speculate, to theorize, to come up with our own explanations for what might have happened.
It's like we're all playing our own version of the game, trying to crack the code to solve the mystery, even though we may never know the definitive answer. And that's the brilliant thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Even if Polybius turns out to be like a complete fabrication, it still sparked all this creativity, all these conversations about the nature of truth, the power of belief, and our relationship with technology.
It really highlights how a story, even one without concrete evidence, can take on a life of its own.
Right.
Especially in a world where information spreads so quickly.
Yeah.
It's like throwing a stone into a pond.
Okay.
The ripples keep expanding outwards, touching everything in their path.
Okay, so we've talked about the theories, the anxieties, the cultural impact.
Right.
But what does this all mean for us? What can we take away from our deep dive into the mystery of Polybius?
I think it reminds us that even in the age of information overload, there are still mysteries that may never be fully solved.
Right.
And honestly, that's okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes the unanswered questions are the ones that keep us thinking, that push us to explore, to dig deeper.
It's like that saying, the journey is the destination. It's not necessarily about finding the right answer, but about the process of asking questions, weighing the evidence, and keeping an open mind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Polybius, whether a real game, a hoax, or something in between, serves as a perfect catalyst for those explorations.
Okay.
It reminds us to stay curious, to be skeptical, to never stop questioning the world around us.
It's almost like Polybius is this challenge to our critical thinking skills.
Yeah.
It's like it's saying, okay, here's this story. It sounds crazy, but what do you think?
And that's such an important skill to have.
Yeah.
Especially now when we're bombarded with information from all sides.
Right.
Being able to sift through the noise, to evaluate sources, to form our own conclusions.
Yeah.
Those are the tools we need to navigate the world.
So in a way, even if Polybius never physically existed, it exists as this powerful reminder of the importance of critical thinking.
Precisely.
Wow.
And it also highlights the enduring power of storytelling.
Okay.
Because ultimately that's what Polybius is, a story.
Right.
And stories, whether true or not, have this incredible ability to shape our beliefs, our perceptions, even our behavior.
They tap into something deep within us.
Yeah.
They make us feel things. They make us think. And sometimes the stories that stick with us the longest, the ones that really get under our skin, are the ones that leave us with more questions than answers.
And those questions, those lingering mysteries, are often the ones that spark our imagination, that fuel our curiosity, and remind us that there's still so much out there waiting to be discovered.
So to everyone listening, we leave you with this.
Okay.
What do you believe happened with Polybius? Was it a real game? A government experiment? A collective delusion? Or something else entirely?
Wow.
Whatever your conclusion, we encourage you to keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the mysteries that capture your imagination.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the most rewarding journeys are the ones that lead us into the unknown.